The 2026 Commonwealth Games are essentially homeless and in doubt after Victorian Premier Daniel Andrews made the decision to cancel his state's hosting duties. The Games, which were going to be held in the regional hubs of Shepparton, Bendigo and Ballarat, as well as Melbourne, apparently were going to be too expensive for the cash-strapped state to fund. Well, let's bring in now Bev McArthur, a Liberal member of the Victorian Legislative Council, and 20-year-old track star Ellie Beer. Welcome to you both, Bev and Ellie. Ellie, look, I want to start with you. I mean, our hearts go out to you and all the other competitors, not just in Australia, but internationally. How hard have you been training for these games only to find out today that, well, they're not on, at least in Melbourne?
Yeah, honestly, it is very sad and honestly very disappointing, to be honest. Currently, I am training as well as a lot of other athletes are training for the next year Olympic Games in Paris. But the main goal that I really wanted to go compete at the Commonwealth Games in 2026 was to really experience that home crowd. I remember going and watching the athletics in 2018 as a youngster, kind of freshly new into the sport, and just the atmosphere of all your home crowd just cheering for the Australian athletes, as well as all the other athletes from different countries. It was amazing, honestly. And that was just where I discovered that I wanted to represent my country. So yeah, honestly, I would have loved to experience that home crowd down in Melbourne, as well as having all my family and friends come and watch, because I actually got family down in Melbourne and in Victoria, funny enough. So it would have been pretty amazing for them to come and watch, my little cousins coming and watching. But like, hopefully, fingers crossed, another state can hopefully hold it, or as well as another country, because the Commonwealth Games are really special, to be honest. It's such a good, amazing atmosphere, as heard from all other athletes. And, you know, I haven't experienced the Commonwealth Games competing at one yet, so it would be amazing to, you know, compete in one of those events one day.
Yeah, so well said, Ellie. Bev, I want to bring you in now. I mean, clearly there were concerns from the very start that trying to build new infrastructure in 5 regional areas was going to be problematic and costly. There was a Victorian official quoted in Jess Halloran's piece in The Australian today that said that Andrews' government was very clearly warned this wasn't the right model to take when you've already got the sporting infrastructure in Melbourne. So, you know, what do you think? Was this something that they should have foreseen well before making the decision to have it in these regional areas?
Well, Sharri, Victoria's gone from being the lockdown capital of the world to the non-events capital of Australia, and we are an international disgrace. Clearly, running international sporting events over multiple venues for international level athletes was going to be problematic from day one. And I can talk about what the situation was in 2 areas where they were going to be held in my electorate, Geelong and Ballarat. Now, in Ballarat, there was simply not the hotel facilities to house tourists, visitors, families of athletes. All the accommodation was booked up for 600 police and 450 bus drivers, let alone anybody else. And the athletes were apparently going to be housed on a contaminated site, which wasn't going to be any good for social housing after it was over. That was going to be pulled down, but it was okay for international athletes to be there. So, and in Geelong, we were going to have blow-up pools. I mean, it was a nonsense from the beginning, and the inability of this government to understand any project outside the tram tracks, even inside the tram tracks, they blow out to monumental proportions. But what was required in the regions was monumental to house this sort of activity, and they hadn't thought it through at all.
And if they weren't going to be able to deliver, if it was going to be too difficult to do it in regional areas, well, they shouldn't have put the bid in. But look, as the people I quoted in my editorial, the writers pointed out, Daniel Andrews was chasing votes in those regional areas, those marginal seats. Ellie, I'm not going to ask you about the politics of it, of course, but, you know, one of your fellow athletes the boxer Harry Garside. He gave an interview with Neil Mitchell today where he said that when he first heard the news this morning, when he woke up to it, he thought it was fake. Have you spoken to your relay team and how's everyone feeling?
Well, to be honest with you, I only found out about it, I would say like 2 hours ago. I was scrolling through Instagram and I saw a post, I think it was by some channel or some government, and it said, like in big headlines, cancellation of Victorian Commonwealth Games. And I was like, I sent it to my mum because I was at work all this morning and like came to training. And then I was like kind of in shock, to be honest. I guess I had the reaction kind of like Harry Garside, hey, like, is this real? Like, I don't know, because like it's on social media, like it could be something like someone just randomly posted. But then like when I got asked to do this interview, then I was like, oh no, it's actually happening.
True.
So I actually haven't had a chance to really talk to any of my teammates about it, let alone I only just spoke to my coach about it like about 5 minutes ago. So honestly, hasn't really processed like yet.
Yeah.
I guess like I was saying before, like I know a lot of athletes' priorities, particularly this year and coming into next year, is world champs and Olympic Games. And then obviously everyone is going to start prioritising. We got another world champs in 2025. I know athletics does. And then Com Games is 2026. So honestly, it was a big 3 years for honestly everyone, a lot of sports and a lot of athletes. So I guess like now coming into 2026, it's like, oh, hang on, like, I guess like I reckon athletes are still processing the information, to be honest.
Yes, and still hearing the news. Okay, look, we're just about out of time, but Bev, just very quickly, you know, as you said, this is an international embarrassment. Do you think there needs to be an inquiry into the process? You know, why the costings were so out and why Daniel Andrews has put all of Australia in this position ultimately that, you know, it will be embarrassing and will affect the country's credibility when we are competing for major sporting events in the future?
Well, Sharri, yes, an inquiry would be very good. But remember what happened with the Coat inquiry. Nobody could answer a question. I don't recall. I don't know. It wasn't me. I don't read emails. So I don't know as we'll get anywhere. We'll just waste more money. We do need to know exactly how much of taxpayers' money has been spent so far on this. I mean, Commander Weimar was on a $2 million contract. The Indigenous director, I understand, was on a $250,000 contract. And how much does it cost to get out of the Games? The Premier wouldn't answer those questions today. Taxpayers need to know exactly how much of their money's been wasted so far and who's going to be held accountable. I don't hold out a lot of hope for anybody putting up their hands to be responsible or accountable.
All right. Bev McArthur, Ellie Beer, thank you both so much for your time. And Ellie, good luck at the Olympics, and hopefully another nation will step in to host the Commonwealth Games. Good luck with it.